Shirley here with Sirius Talis Moon. And this is Soul Hour. Soul Day. No, wait. Jupiter Night. That makes more sense now. So we just left Mars Hour. And Sun is with Spica opposing Chiron and Aries in Aries. Venus is 7 degrees Libra. And the Moon is leaving Vendia Matrix, which is corrupted businesses and the correction of corruption. Now, what I see, and the usual is first I give out the what looks like a rage prophecy, but then I find the points of interferences. We are with Ascendant conjoining Ketu and Mercury in toxic degree Scorpio. So we're talking about toxic chemistry or poison to a bloodline. Mars 19 degrees Scorpio. Okay. There is a repetitiveness in the behaviors of those bloodlines that are associated with the head of. And Aries is the horns, so that would be the heads of war. And by that, I don't just mean the visible people, okay? So don't get it into like, but if the visible people won't stand to that, stop that corruption, stand to that corruption, then that can be. So it's the heads of war, the heads of finances and real estate, the heads of psychological operations, okay, and by that can also be occultistic operations, and even certain channelers and astrologers to do with war or mundane astrology, okay, and that is that Neptune is also that. So Neptune also rules sacrifice, and 0 degree. I always have the. Everybody probably has the premonitions of the 0 degree of something. I just had a painting with Neptune ingressing to Pisces, and it was the globe with many birds flying towards what's the sun that looks like a sunflower. um, make of it what you want. I don't. It's called Freiheit. And about that time, I was playing with linguistics, so I actually picked up a nickname, which was Umreka Vichuna. Vichuna is inspired by the Slavic that would have a different ending for the females, and I don't know why it just came about, and that was a linguistic experiment. I think the entire class was talking about me behind my back, but I did not give a flying F. I was a linguist. That's what linguists do sometimes. Um, so I signed as Umi. Umi. Um, okay. Midheaven is also ruled by this Mercury. Now, Neptune 0 degree. Neptune 0 degree, we're going to see the holistic meaning of the sacrifices, manifestations, and drugs, of course, related to war. Ooh, that's what my prophecy is about, actually. I call it my prophecy. I did not know that this thing is called prophecy. Don't, I don't, please, disclaimer, I don't see myself as a prophet, okay? I just read the stars, okay? I just do it. And whatever the stars are saying in their language, I translate to something that people can understand, And there could be things lost in translation, so I have no idea, or added. But this is now we're gonna see the holistic meaning of war, and the first thing I already see is peace, because I just looked at the case of two missing girls, and it's not, I don't do a public video about that, but it may have had to do that those girls were sacrificed to execrate certain chemicals. Let's just put it that, and they were not drug users. So if you know about these things, then you know. If you don't, then I'll save you the mess. Um, but this is where this it is possible that they were either sacrificed to create a certain peace, and wealth consolidation can also be seen as peace, as something to do with Jupiprosion. And this is the underlying rituals behind our so-called peace agreements in wars. Okay, we have to understand there are several layers. There are the secret societies, layers to war. Those are also the levels that are supposed to commit the war crimes. Um, there are the actual owners of real estate that consolidate their wealth through with the monarchy or so on. So let's say when John D. Rockefeller was eyeing the oil and gas in Russia, that was a time for Bolshevism, and he funded the education for Bolshevism. Although if you look at the communist and capitalist, it's the same thing. One owns the means of production. Um, okay, and one is expected to own the land as a result of the fruits of their labor, but the labor in gas and oil is mean of production. Okay, you have to own the mean of production to do the labor. Okay, if let's say you are a country, okay, if John D. Rockefeller has the means to drill oil and gas, then you have to consolidate the wealth with John D. Rockefeller. Now this is half the problem, because John D. Rockefeller has to consolidate the wealth with the ruling over the land, and this is where children get killed and sacrificed because of ancient practices that the Mayas did and the Aztecs did, and each time somebody did that, eventually they were exterminated. Um, Particularly because, according to some, the population got very sovereign, and indeed, um, it kind of works in a certain way. Okay, pedophiles, for example, are the easiest to extort, so we find them in large quantities in the places where lobbyers would be. Okay, for example, both in the lobbyers and those that are extorted by the lobbyers. Because nobody wants that out, right? So the easiest to extort, and that explains the concentrations of pedophiles in upper echelons. Now, because they're easier to extort, the people knowing about them being a pedophiles, or even believing that they are pedophiles, and no longer not believing that something is a conspiracy. Here, talk about public opinion. The ones that are supposed to rebel en masse and burn the parliament or something. That's the yes, and so when the people become a bit aware of that, then they say, okay, then we have labor rights, and we have women rights, and we have this rights, and we have that right, and we have the kidnapped people going back, and and we have the bones of the other kidnapped people going back, and everything is fine as long as they will shut up about the children and the cloning farms and the cruel way in which cloning was done, to God forbid not need to ask the permission of also the woman. Um, Now, for those who are thinking sperm stealing, I absolutely acknowledge that. That being said, sperm stealing does not consist of going into the lower belly of the man, opening up and then excreting. That would be the equivalent. Um, Aries is about to ingress to Taurus in the 50s. So just, just, okay, that's, okay. And I do not underestimate the phenomena of sperm stealing, but then you have to make sure that there is no rape, that there is no. It's like it goes along the same things. Rape of life, rape of life. Okay, that's basically if people unite struggles rather than divide and conquer, they can actually get somewhere. Um, and so, okay, because will and consent is also, of course, not to sleep with a man to have baby, and then like the way better ways to have babies. I mean, especially for the baby. then, um, but same with raping a woman to have a child, which is horrid for the child. And I think that the children that were born in this way and open cloning farms are undermining themselves in the most way that they could undermine themselves. This is just particularly if they have housing projects. Um, they should make sure that women are well treated. That's basically what caused the trauma to their mom. They couldn't stand up to their dad or something, and so on. And so they don't want to be like their dad, right? That's just normal. So cloning farm is being worse than that probably. Um, Now here's the thing. From what I see right now, the people that are ritually tortured, raped, and sacrificed during peace talks, during peace, okay, that creates perpetual war. Because anyway, the point is perpetual war. Okay, so so that going unnoticed creates perpetual war. Now, perpetual war tends to awaken people to what war is consisting of, and the layers that need to do the wealth consolidation on the minerals, on the oil and the gas. Okay, let's take Palestine. To have peace, did the Palestinians sacrifice girls to some lord of land that will give them a country? Because if in that case, that would be the ritual of the foundation of the country. And as a person living in Israel, we deal with that, I think, to this day. Um, and it may have been that the bankers that founded Israel consolidated the wealth with the British Empire back then in that way. And or the Ottoman Empire, okay? And and this is where another thing is happening in the world, and that was the use of bioweapon and medical warfare. Okay, now there are few things more stupid than inbred people using biomedical warfare, and I think that in Saturn Neptune we're about to see that. Um, but this is also now. Here is the thing. Even people with compromised immune systems doesn't get even those people don't have to worry about it in as near as much as the aristocracy. Now, okay, you guys can just go stroll in the forest if it's safe for you, or do a lockdown, have a couple of spoons of thieves vinegar, and granted that everything is hygienic, you'll be relatively fine. But those people that come up with the biomedical weapons, um, let's just say this would be the MK Ultra definition of ultra smart and ultra smug. Now, corpses of people that die in the plague, or living people that have a stronger immune system to the plague, the bodies of the inbred people don't meet them that well. Even when we talk about traveling and exile, traveling to the cleanest places in the world that are disappearing, by the way, and being used to the bacteria there is not is not how should I say that? It's gonna get crowded in Epstein Islands, what I'm saying. And think about the drugs, think about addiction too. Neptune is also addiction, and in Aries is addiction to do with the blood. And we're opening up with a Neptune Saturn conjunction, this due to addiction to that thing called endochrome. Mass death due to addiction to endochrome. It's addiction to do with the blood, blood disease, and I will tell you more, there's going to be a body and mind facet to that type of ailments. Okay, the now a lot of people know that and try to push that karma away to other people. That's not, think about it. In COVID, many people were in between two houses. Okay, they had no homes. They left domestic violence and so on. What would happen? What is a person a homeless? If a homeless person sees half a sandwich, they eat that half a sandwich. They can contract diseases, but those that survive, it also means that their bodies, okay, counteract those diseases, and the immune system became stronger. A homeless person sees an untouched cup of coffee that is half drank. That's their morning coffee. Whatever the other person had. Now, here's the thing: if the homeless made it, a person who is addicted to torturing people and excreting certain chemicals or toxic chemicals from the blood, their immune system is not the best. Okay, it's not a nectar of immortality that comes out there. It's an addictive drug, more addictive than other drugs. that compromises their everything. And in fact, if pedophilia is used to extort, let's say, politicians, then endochrome is used to extort the higher rank. And they're extortable because they are addicted to doing things that undermine their bloodline. And now Saturn Neptune is going to be an expiration date to those bloodlines. We're also going to see the holistic way of weapon industry. In that sense, bioweapon is a strong word here, but also psychological techniques that are supposed to make people crazy. Here is what happened. There's an entire population that becomes more, that stands in the power of psychological abuse and quasi-military techniques, and for some people even military techniques of no-touch torture and torture. Um, that's a society. Now, how do people survive? They speak even more per every time. They expose even more per every time. They set the tone. Okay, because there's no point to appease people that torture. If people that use power, okay, people that use power and abuse power to torture, to put people through things, these are people that don't have the power. The people that have the power, they're standing in their power, and so the people can be sovereign. If they don't allow people to be sovereign, it means they don't have the power. And if they're addicted to endochrome, that Saturn Neptune is an expiration date. You see, the curation for those things exists. The curation is love is true. Now, definitely anything that puts people more on the frequency of love is preferred. And, okay, being a little bit acquainted with those type of rituals. That as per the people that are addicted to those, I was supposed to die of. And I don't know which part of my colleagues was taking a part in bringing to that death. And this is where also those shamans, healers, astrologers, diviners that actively, Mars has actively participated in sacrificing people. Okay, we're talking about the astrologers of the monarchy, the astrologers of, but also the common people were to have a business, they agreed to sacrifice a human being, or to rape people, or to traffic people. That's an expiration date. Because the result of those practices is supposed to be some aristocrat drawing endochrome. And this is a chemical that's produced by torture. So you understand the expiration date here with Neptune is going to be mass death due to some blood disease. And we understand holistically why, okay? When the costume is to torture people to get something from the blood to get high on, supposedly to get demonic powers that nobody gives a flying F, okay? Then all of those people that did that practice, they basically consumed torture. What did they think would happen? Now, if they try to give this karma to the population, unlike the royalty, the common person, let's say a homeless person gets a meal, okay? Under the stress they're in, they're not really able to say if that meal is, let's say, dairy, or if that meal is meat or whatnot, they're not really having the access to choice under those stress conditions. In fact, all the people that claim to have hunger strike, a lot of them were filmed, okay, they eating snacks um, during that hunger strike. Um, okay, so if the person is not able to eat because they're so stressed is one thing, but if the person is able to eat, then they will eat the food um, that they are served mostly, unless just some radical disease to do with that, and those are the people whose immune system are actually going to be better. Now the costumes of here is the aristocracy, the monarchies, but with Aries, also the banking elite, the real estate elite, and the natural resources to do. It's not just oil and gas, it's also the chip companies because they make things of the rare earth minerals. The companies that make the cameras in the street that never find missing people, but they just stand there. Those are made of minerals, those are made of metals, those are made of, okay, those are made of materials. Neptune is the holistic meaning of something now. In Pisces, it was the holistic meaning of religion. Okay? What does it mean for entire population to believe that they are not worthy, but the Lord still loves them? On the one hand, somebody loves them, so it's better than like slicing their genitals to have a contract with the devil. God, yes. Yes. Only, it is God because God did not ask for that. In fact, God was appeasing towards Abraham in that regard. He was like, "Why do you need a dumb fuckery pagan shit?" But Abraham wouldn't believe he spoke with a God if there was no pain involved. Um, so, so Christianity, maybe the idea tried to bring love, but it is also people making of themselves dust in the eye of the Lord. People seeing themselves as not worthy. Okay, and so whether that was the spiritual teaching that was the closest to frequency, to love frequency that the people could accept, or that was the case because they were God-forsaken, tortured, and then and made to be feeling dust in the eyes of the Lord, um, and believing that Jesus was already the sacrifice, again trying to remediate pagan and indigenous practices of human sacrifice, didn't work with the aristocracy, didn't and perhaps not even the Vatican. And so, because they're like, the Mayans did it, the Aztecs did it, and they got extinct. But the Mayans did it, the Aztecs, everybody does it, and then they get extinct. So now we are heading to get extinct. Okay. And it's about to be get extinct o'clock. And now, here is the thing. Trying to commit mass human sacrifice to avoid that is only going to accelerate the get extinct. But no, but you see, you have to say that. There comes an astrological transit where the people that do bloodline sacrifice and their entire lineage, Saturn, um, is more likely to be sacrificed, is more likely to go extinct. Okay, then let's sacrifice all the people. No, no, that's not how it works. That's not. Ask the Mayan and the Aztecs. I can't. Well, this is why you can't. They also tried that dumb fuckery. Let's extinguish humanity in the plague. A fantastic horde more susceptible to the plague. Now, here is the thing. We are about the situation where, you see, every time there is a story coming out, as a filmmaking student, in the past I was one, every time you see a movie or you see a story bringing up a historical event, please understand they're talking about the present. Okay, the fall of Pompeii, fall of Rome. Okay, and then I go around the web, not even the dark web. I don't I don't I got nothing to look for in the dark web. Um, and I see something, and it talks about Tataria, and Tataria was extinct. It had these lovely buildings that were taking energy from the sky and transmitting it around the city. And I don't know if it was kind of like the old harp or not. Sacred geometry, lovely architecture, all kaput. And the story was that the people got too sovereign, so they had to extinguish that. Yeah, but that's half the story, because those that any method of extinction, the people that are inbred and practice addiction to endochrome, they are the more susceptible to any method of extinction. Okay, A bombs have radiation. Uh, Weather pollution. Okay, that's the various toxins. That's okay. The biochemical weapon. We already talked about that. Okay, the plague and stuff. Um, yes, kidnapping people and holding them ransom. Well, the immune system, again, putting people through psychological stress. That would be the time to abolish MK often, yes, and MK Ultra if we are already trying to steal wombs, physical wombs to clone people. Um, that what did it, what when we harm you into that? What was this smallpox thingy that the skin was inflaming? Okay, because this is violation of boundaries, skin, that creates inflammation in the blood and nervous system. That is going to be the type and affects the bone structure and the blood. that is going to be the type of thing that's going to be affecting, probably will be affecting population, because population is also rapey, and then they will die. I mean, why not? Um, Now, women's immune system is usually more sensitive because of the stress they are under. Okay. Also, aristocracy is under tremendous stress. Um, but that would just mean that those wombs will not be available for people to, okay, to basically wear them as an emblem or something and use them for cloning. Um, and these are taken by torture because they also want to excrete the toxic stuff. So Saturn Neptune is extinction of those who practice those things. You think about the time where we had a change of the nobility. Now, here's the thing: if we had a change of the nobility, and the nobility just did those things, then they're going to they effed around, and they are going to find out that effing around with bloodline, with bone marrow, with the nervous system, um, okay, is having results. They're trying to beat death by doing everything. Okay, everybody tried that and everybody died. The Mayans tried that, the Aztecs tried that, and the thing with Ataria is that the entire place went kaput, supposedly because the people got too sovereign. Well, the people got sovereign enough to not buy the mockingbirds. They're not looking at the blue pill, white pill, red pill, white. I have no idea about this. Now, the people that are too rapey, okay, I said that this eclipse, the last eclipse we had in Virgo with Al-Qaid opposites Saturn, Neptune, destruction of cities and so on. This is, and the dead bodies upon dead bodies is supposed to be the Uranus conjoining by 1 degree orb of Beta Persei, supposed to go along the line of Saturn, Neptune. So that's it's a different type of sextile. We already saw it when they invaded Gaza. Okay, um, we saw it not combined. Okay, we didn't see it combined that much. Um, but the invasion of Gaza was kind of like almost there, and we saw what that can do. It is seventh house of Israel. Let's say there could have been, for me as a broadcaster, there could have been better places to be at in the world. Um, but that's the region that I am. Um, so, and by the way, the people in Israel that saw the ripping off of genitals and okay, those things, they don't buy the endochrome is a conspiracy theory anymore. Like, yeah, Hamas, okay, fine, who's funding for them? Some oil giant And no amount of killing Palestinians so that they won't talk is going to be suffice, because it's always going to be this one person left that saw everything. So the stories of Tataria, okay, but people got too sovereign, they had to destroy them and so on. I don't know if I buy these stories as they are. Probably they did those things like the Mayans and the Aztecs, and people got informed, so they used whatever power they had to destroy everything. Maybe, but what people need to understand, that nuclear holocaust, global and total, without margins, is more humane. I'm saying without margins. And indigenous that think that, oh, it's the elite, now finally we're going to be liberated. Well, if the liberation of the people, of your people, is given to girls to have their genitals ripped off and tortured to, and that would appease the this and that, gone are the days when that works. This is okay. This is, and the people that practice those things um, don't have good memories from colonialism. And the problem was that the colonizers learned from them. Okay, that's that. This Saturn Neptune in a world degree with a B6 to be honest, I don't know how many years we didn't have such a thing, because it's not just Saturn Neptune. Saturn Neptune conjunction was in the fall of the Soviet Union, okay, but this one is in a B6 with Uranus and Pluto. There are several agreements here. Okay, Neptune and Pluto agreements is the mafia and the nuclear energy. Now you see how that can go wrong, right? The people that sells the druggiest of drugs are in control of whether you will be bombed or not. Uh, Saturn Neptune in Aries also means rust, and it means so that the A bomb won't get rusty. The the secret rituals are being leaked, are being exposed, and Pluto is out of bounds for the coming decade, which means that the we the people part are going to stand. It both means oscillation of power in the sense that they're really going to try their best to control everything, and it's going to fail miserably because, as one of them said, Abraham Lincoln, you can fool only part of the people part of the time. And I said, when Pluto ingressed into Aquarius, this is the part in history where they try to fool all the people all the time. They're not going to make it. And they try to take as many of we the people with them. Now, Neptune is not done being in Pisces yet. The ingress of Neptune in Pisces was the Helsinki Committee on Rolodex, the testimony of the boys. I don't know what they take from the boys, because they're supposed to be like clones of the dead. And I really don't know what what's happening there, but and the boy, I'm sorry, but the raped boy is usually considered feminine, which is now here's the thing. Nobody believes that it doesn't happen, that it's a conspiracy theory anymore. Okay? With the weird things that happen, you see, enough for a person to be psychically attacked and then understand that that's not the weird, neighbor or something, but that's actually something that's funded by classified projects, and they try to trail back why would they why would they and they were like, well, I'm not doing any crime, not suspected in any crime. I'm not. Exactly, you're not doing any crime. That's why. That's, and then and here is the thing. If trying to silence people was how we got to the point that um, let's just say that the people are not willing to listen anymore, further attempts to try to silence the people are not going to improve upon anybody's image. And those sacrificial habits on both indigenous and not indigenous, um, okay, the expiration date is the Saturn-Neptune meeting. So even the people that are not, let's say, a targeted individual, um, they look at the world today and they're like, hey, there's so many weird things. I've been in a country that was at war for 2 years. You would say probably the currency went bad, probably the nada. Could it be that the war was to save the currency? By the way, some good news. Italy's credit score was raising because Meloni did not agree to merge with uh, the global devils. Or she did that by hidden merging and acquisition. Um, France's credit was decreased because I don't know why. Um, but you see, for Israel, there were 2 years war. The shekel not moving an inch. And then when they stopped the war, they said that it was to save the shekel. You understand that they are going to need something to save the shekel from very soon, so that there will still be a shekel. that is it's heavy on the mishkal. It's heavy weight of those Libra scales. Now, people ask, how come Israel can do such a thing and get away with that? Because she's surrounded by those who did such a thing and want to keep getting away with that. I'm talking about the currency. Genocide is the side effects of the currency war. It doesn't look pretty to the public. You do a whole lot of dehumanization. particularly forget to deal with the things that are the same things as the other guys are doing, but in one's own country. And this is how you make sure that the war will last. However exhausted the people are, those that feed on endocrine have lower immune system. And the blood that they have to feed on is okay. So now here is the things. Torturing people is not is not the answer. Okay? The we the people part remembers the Spanish flu, and it's like, well, that means that they're freeing up some land. Those people that do those rituals. To try to get us depopulated. And what creates compromised immune system? Immune system is the boundaries of the body. Boundary violation. Okay. Now what makes the immune system sensitive? Now here it is. In Pisces it was grief, loss. But also, do people get a space to be a breathing space? Are their houses big enough? Do they travel enough? What is the situation of people that are in faraway lands? Here's the global. Is their religion giving them air in the lungs or taking air from the lungs? It was an inflammation, but to the lungs and the nervous system, endocrine system. In Mars sign, okay, we have to think about it. The COVID was an outbreak that had Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. Jupiter ruling of Pisces and lungs, Saturn, bone marrow, nervous system, Pluto, fungal, something fungal. Okay, so those people like me that were treating their fungal infections, they were in better position for COVID than the people that were just forming fungal infections. Okay? Treating stagnation, basically. Uh, Now, nobody's going to care about it's a blood libel, not a blood libel, when their children are missing. And some children are sometimes found in a mention of a guy that raped, tortured, and so on. And then they say it's one psychopath, and the psychopath he says, I'm a small link in a megalithic chain. And immediately they change all the juristic team that tends to that. And I'm not sure I'm even talking about Mark the True. The True. Because it seemed to be a pandemic. You get the gist. With Neptune. Um, but Neptune, Aries, okay. It's also karma for what people do with their penis. Jupiter is lungs, feet, Okay, for me, for example, I had to tend to my toenail fungi because I thought that wearing sneakers and going to the gym doing calisthenics is and the fungal infected. I thought athlete's foot is a classy disease. It's athletes. Okay, so I had to change my thinking. Okay, Jupiter, I had to change my perspective. But this one is Saturn Neptune in a bisextile with Uranus Pluto. Uranus Sedna Pluto. And Sedna again, the people that sold people to human trafficking to have dark rituals, occultistic rituals done on them to supposedly receive demonic powers. Okay? Their immune system is not so. Sedna is also to do with world hunger. Now, here's the thing. Will they not try to extinguish crops? They already do. Will they not try to harm land? They already do. Will they not try to harm air? They already do. But who are the people who have the most sensitive immune system today? It's the people that feed on endocrine. And you think about it, it would be so simple for the aristocracy and the monarchies and the banking elite to not do the same old mistakes of the Aztecs and the Mayans. Like it was, they would have better immune systems, and they would not be able to. They would not be needing to suppress the immune system of the people. Like it makes a lot of money. So is having a food forest. It saves you a lot of money. If you have food forests and you don't do funny rituals in those the food forests that later get the place that's the certification. Beersheba, which is Negev, it is a desert. Got eucalyptus trees. Eucalyptus trees were planted in swamps. The desert was a swamp. Saw that in Hada, saw that in Beersheba as well. The entire place was a freaking swamp. When? I don't know. Perhaps the Palestinians. I'm sorry. No, no Palestinians left that know to tell the answer. Um, okay, the Israelis that grew up in the at least my generation, we knew that they planted eucalyptus to dry the swamps. So if I go to the Negev and I see eucalyptus, then I say, okay, they dried some swamps. Now here's the thing. There is an attempt to make a global religion, which means that the global aristocracy, which means that that's not going to skip. It's not just going to be, oh, Christianity. Judaic traditions, indigenous traditions, Islamic traditions, Islamic traditions, Islamic traditions. Nobody is going to listen. People are going to cry bloody bells. They say free the children. There will not be bloody bells when people are living sovereign life. Okay, when people are living their life, when the crops are not harmed, Do you know that when I was taught in an Israeli university the story of the famine in Ireland, where their potatoes were poisoned, and they were brought poisoned potatoes, you know that I was taught by somebody who very likely was a Mason. We were taught this story